The town was woken up by the distant roar of engines and heavy machinery. Driving down the interstate leading to Mount Comfort, an imposing convoy of military vehicles approached. Leading the battalion was an armored truck, its army green exterior stark in the desert landscape of Mount Comfort. Behind it were a long line of jeeps and transport trucks, carrying advanced communications equipment and heavy machinery, and perhaps weaponry. As the convoy rolled into town, soldiers, clad in deep green camo and armed with rifles, poured out. They quickly moved to set up perimeters and quick deploy barriers. From the primary armored vehicle, a figure emerged. General William Holt. With a stern face marked by deep lines, he wore his uniform like a second skin. His eyes, missing nothing, took in the scene. The crashed object, the gathered townsfolk, the hospital team led by Lena. Approaching with a brisk stride, Lena headed straight for General Holt. "General," Lena started, "I hope." The general, cutting her off, stated firmly, "Your assistance is noted, Doctor, but this area is now under military control. Return to your hospital. We'll call if needed." General William Holt stood at the center of Mount Comfort's town square, his stern demeanor amplified by the imposing military presence behind him. As residents gathered, murmuring amongst themselves, he raised his hand for silence. "Due to the recent incident," he began, his voice echoing off the brick walls, "and for the safety of all residents, I am declaring martial law in Mount Comfort by authority of the governor of Nevada." Gasps and whispers spread among the townspeople. A curfew will be in effect from sunset to sunrise. Any violations will be dealt with swiftly. This is for your protection. Inside the bustling hospital, the days following the general's arrival were anything but ordinary. Dr. Lena Harper found herself grappling with another medical mystery affecting patients who had been exposed to the crash site. Throughout the day, a recurring phenomenon was becoming impossible to ignore. Patient after patient, regardless of age or background, exhibited the same peculiar behavior. They'd sit, trance-like, their fingers scratching at paper or even their bedsheets. If given a pen, they would begin drawing a sequence of intricate patterns. At a glance, they appeared like constellations, or perhaps complex circuitry, their designs both chaotic and eerily harmonious. Lena, at the end of her day, spread out the various sketches she had collected. The detail on the sketches was remarkable. The recurring motifs in the drawings were undeniable. It was as if an invisible thread was connecting her patients, guiding their hands to relay a message she couldn't yet decipher. Late one evening, Jamie, the older brother of one of Dr. Harper's patients, rushed in. "Dr. Harper," he began breathlessly, presenting a drawing. "This is from my sister, Lucy. She's just 8 and she has never been able to draw like this before." Lena looked up, her concern mirroring Jamie's own anxiety. "Jamie," she started, her voice low and deliberate, "I believe these patterns your sister drew have an important meaning. The other patients are drawing these same patterns. It's more than a coincidence. Can you help me gather as many of these drawings as possible? We need to find the connection." A glint of determination sparkled in Jamie's eyes. Jamie was only 16, but he was a computer whiz. He had taught himself 7 programming languages and had been accepted to attend Stanford when the school year started in a few months. With his tech background, he had tools at his disposal that could potentially decipher the patterns. "I've got some software on my laptop that can analyze recurring motifs. Maybe, just maybe, we can decode this." And so, a new alliance was forged. The doctor and the tech-savvy teenager found themselves working late into the night, their efforts a blend of medicine and technology. The site of the crash, the Little League baseball field, had been transformed into a fortress, and the entire perimeter of the elementary school was cordoned off by the military. High-powered spotlights swept across the field, and armed guards were stationed at regular intervals. Any direct approach was impossible, but Sheriff Martinez had an idea. During his tenure as sheriff, he had been called to the school multiple times. for small issues like resolving disputes or giving safety talks. He remembered the old drainage system that ran beneath the school grounds, built decades ago for flood prevention. A particular section of it ran close to the baseball field. It had been out of use for years, replaced by a more modern system, but if Martinez's memory served right, it could provide a clandestine path to the field. His plan began at dusk. Martinez parked a few blocks away to avoid suspicion. He made his way to the old maintenance shed behind the school gym. The entrance to the drainage system was there, concealed beneath a heavy metal grate. The descent into the tunnel was initially steep. The air was damp, and the beam from his flashlight illuminated the moss-covered walls of the old tunnel. Progress was slow. The path was cluttered with old debris and remnants from its former use. But after what felt like hours, a faint hum began resonating through the tunnel, the same hum he had heard at the crash site. Martinez finally reached a grate underneath the bleachers next to the craft. Carefully, he pushed the grate up and slid it over, gritting his teeth as the grate made a metallic scraping sound as it slid across the rocks and dirt. Finally, he was able to climb out of the drainage tunnel. Peering out, he realized that the craft, pulsating with its otherworldly glow, was just a few feet away, tantalizingly reachable. Martinez waited for the pattern of the roving spotlights to change and made his move. Staying low and using the bleachers as cover, he made his way to the craft, the symbols on its surface seemingly calling out to him. As he touched the craft, a rush of information flooded his senses. He quickly took pictures of the symbols with his camera, hoping to decode them later. They weren't of any language or symbols he recognized. As he reached out, hoping to decipher the patterns, a twig snapped behind him. He spun around, finding himself face to face with a young soldier, a rifle pointed directly at him. "Put your hands up. No sudden movements," the soldier growled, eyes narrowing. Martinez held up his hands. "Easy there, son. Just trying to understand what's going on in my town." The soldier hesitated, his gaze flitting between Martinez and the unearthly object behind him. "You shouldn't be here," he finally said, lowering his rifle but still on edge. The young soldier was crouching behind the craft like Martinez. It was as if the soldier was trying to avoid being seen as well. Martinez, sensing an opportunity, tried a different tack. "I believe in looking out for my people. Whatever that thing is," he gestured toward the object, "it's causing panic. I just want answers." For a moment, time seemed to stretch endlessly. The intensity in the soldier's eyes was palpable, but there was something else too, a flicker of uncertainty. It was then that the soldier made a split-second decision. "Look," he whispered, glancing around to ensure no other soldiers were in earshot. "I've seen things in my time with the military, things that don't quite add up. This," he gestured towards the craft, "this is one of them." Martinez studied the young soldier. "Why are you telling me this?" The soldier sighed. "Because there's a part of me that doesn't trust what's happening here. And something tells me you're the kind of guy who won't stop until he gets to the bottom of things." The soldier extended a cautious hand towards Martinez, who took it firmly. "Private Andrew Lewis," he said, the weight of uncertainty heavy in his voice. "Sheriff David Martinez," came the reply as the men shook hands. The two men, worlds apart in their roles and responsibilities, found themselves on common ground. It was a shared skepticism, a mutual distrust of the higher-ups that had brought them together that night. They both wanted answers. Timmy's once vibrant blue eyes now looked cloudy. The mysterious illness that followed the UFO's crash had gripped him more firmly than most. Dr. Lena Harper, working round the clock, had tried every possible treatment, but nothing seemed to break the fever or halt the consistent deterioration. The pediatric ward was quiet in the late hours of the evening, a stark contrast to the buzz of military activity outside. Lena sat by Timmy's side, her hand gently holding his, the rhythmic beeping of the monitors playing a somber tune. But despite his weakened state, Timmy's fingers would occasionally squeeze hers, an affirmation that he was still there, fighting. "Dr. Harper," he whispered, breaking the silence. His voice was raspy, but there was a strange urgency to it. "Please, take me to the ship." Lena looked down, startled. "What did you say, Timmy?" He coughed weakly, then with great effort, managed to turn his head to meet her gaze. "The ship. I need to go to the ship. It's calling me." Lena's heart ached. She tried to soothe him. "It's just a dream, Timmy. You need rest." But Timmy's grip tightened. "No, Dr. Harper. It's not a dream. Every time I close my eyes, I see it. The patterns, the lights, they're trying to tell me something." He coughed again, his breathing growing more labored. I think the ship can heal me." Tears welled in Lena's eyes. A part of her wanted to dismiss it as the feverish ramblings of a sick child, but there was something in Timmy's plea, a raw sincerity that she couldn't ignore. And the patterns he mentioned? She'd seen those same patterns in the drawings of other patients. She leaned in closer, brushing away a strand of hair from his forehead. "Timmy, I promise I'll do everything I can to help you." Timmy's eyes, though clouded with pain, held a glimmer of hope. "Please, Dr. Harper. The ship is the only thing that can save me." Lena left Timmy's room with a heavy heart, her mind racing. The medical science she knew and trusted had failed to provide answers, but if there was even a glimmer of truth in Timmy's words, she had to explore it. The sun was high in the sky when Martinez and Lewis made their way to meet Lena at the hospital. They found her there with Jamie, the tech-savvy teenager who had been helping her understand the mysterious patterns. The room was filled with a mix of tension and anticipation. "Thank you for coming," Lena began, taking a deep breath. She quickly relayed Timmy's deteriorating condition and his insistent pleas about the ship's potential to heal him. Jamie leaned forward, his interest evident. "I've been mapping the patterns that the patients have been drawing. They all seem interconnected, almost like they're pieces of a larger puzzle. What if Timmy's right? What if this ship, or whatever it is, has the answers?" Martinez rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "The military's got that site locked down tight. We'd be taking a big risk." Private Lewis interjected, "But if there's a small chance it could help the boy and others, don't we have to try? I might be able to get us some intel on guard rotations, blind spots, maybe even access codes." Lena nodded gratefully. "We need a plan, a way to get close enough without raising alarms." Martinez began drawing a rough map of the Little League baseball field on a piece of paper. "There's a drainage system that runs close to the field. I used it to get to the craft last night, but it is going to be tight with all of us." Jamie chimed in, "I've got a drone, a small one. We could use it for surveillance, get a bird's eye view of the layout, and spot any movements." Lena added, "If we do get to the ship, we need to be prepared for whatever we might encounter. Medical supplies, protective gear, anything that could help us interact with the craft or extract any useful material." The room buzzed with ideas and strategies, each person contributing their expertise. As the night wore on, a plan took shape, built on hope, desperation, and the collective will of 4 determined individuals. They were up against formidable odds, but none had any thoughts of backing down. Before they parted ways, Martinez looked at the group, a hint of determination in his eyes. "We're doing this for Timmy and everyone else affected. We'll get the answers we need." With silent nods of agreement, the group dispersed, each knowing the weight of the task ahead. The next 24 hours would be crucial. The night was as black as ink, a boon for the group as they met at the entrance of the old drainage system. Each of them wore dark clothing, and Jamie had provided the group with small earpieces for everyone to communicate silently. The drainage system was old, its metal rungs slippery, and its tunnels filled with spider webs and the occasional rat. They had to navigate carefully, avoiding areas where the echo of their footsteps would betray their presence. More than once, Lena stumbled, her heart catching in her throat, but Private Lewis was right behind her, steadying her with a firm grip. Martinez, carrying Timmy in his arms, took the rear. Jamie, hidden in a nearby field, was able to provide invaluable information with his drone. Through its camera feed, He could see the layout of the military camp above, its tents, vehicles, and equipment. Private Lewis's intel on the guard rotations proved accurate, and they managed to avoid several patrols by mere seconds. After what felt like hours, they were finally close. Hidden behind the bleachers of the baseball field, they had a clear path to the ship. "We have one shot at this," Martinez whispered. "We need to be quick and silent. If the ship holds answers, we need to find them and get out before we're discovered." With the weight of their mission pressing down on them, the group took a collective deep breath and prepared to make their move. Martinez watched the pattern of the spotlight's movement. "Get ready," he whispered. "Almost time." Martinez waited for the searchlights to sweep in front of the bleachers and whispered sharply, "All right, let's go." The group dashed from the bleachers towards the UFO. It was a magnificent sight up close, gleaming otherworldly metal in intricate patterns, reflecting the scant light that fell upon it. As they approached, the patterns the townsfolk had been scribbling began to manifest brilliantly upon the surface of the craft. They pulsated and glowed, almost alive. Timmy, looking frail yet determined, was immediately drawn to it, his hand reaching out to touch the shimmering designs. The moment his skin made contact, the entire field was bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. A hum, both comforting and alien, resonated around them. The patterns spread and intensified, interlocking across the craft's surface, creating a mesmerizing tapestry. Suddenly, the ground beneath them transformed into a transparent platform, and the group found themselves floating amidst a vast cosmic expanse. Holographic projections burst forth, showcasing alien worlds, galaxies in vibrant colors, and entities communicating in mesmerizing symphonies of light and sound. As they took in the awe-inspiring panorama, a clearer, more focused hologram materialized before them, a narrative of sorts. It showed the craft's journey crossing vast stretches of the universe, propelled by energy derived from the harmony of its occupants and their surroundings. Timmy, acting as a conduit of sorts, began to speak. But it wasn't just his voice they heard. It was layered, a chorus of interstellar travelers sharing their tale. "Our vessel runs on mutual understanding and unity." It became imbalanced, leading to the crash. The signals sent out were calls for help, seeking entities in harmony to restore balance. Lena, looking around at the projections, realized something profound. You don't harm or invade. You coexist, learning and sharing knowledge. Timmy nodded, his eyes filled with stars. The patterns drawn by the townsfolk were a bridge, an attempt to communicate and heal. The experiments Holt is conducting are disrupting this. The balance must be restored quickly. Martinez, gripping Private Lewis's shoulder, whispered, "This isn't just about one town or one boy anymore. This is about humanity. It's about the whole world. We need to act, and fast." As the holographic display faded and the field returned to its original state, a gruff voice shouted out, "Congratulations, our best scientists couldn't figure out how to power that thing on." The group turned around to see dozens of soldiers surrounding them. The general's voice boomed across the field. "You should not have come here. But now that you have, you're going to find out exactly why this craft is of utmost importance."